Thank you for choosing the Minority Alliance Organization meeting today. Today, we kind of wanted to tackle the issue of financial literacy within minority communities. It's our true belief as an organization that you can't have true equality without building equity amongst the minority community and the individuals within a community. Um, I put up an actual post about, I believe, a week ago on the organization's page. It was a CNBC YouTube video where we kind of saw that there was only 463 views was something that I kind of pointed out within the video. And I kind of put it out there on the page for a week, and then I went back this week and looked at how many views it had garnered within a week's time, and it only went from 463 to 558 views. What the content within the video was actually regarding wealth within minority communities, especially amongst Black Americans, speaking on Black entrepreneurs and things of that nature. And all the time I'm looking at these videos myself, but I always notice one similarity amongst all these, which is all these videos have a low count of views from people, which means, it's somebody who's out there who's supposed to be seeing this content, who's not paying attention to this content. And it's our belief within the minority community that people need to actually take a second and strengthen their financial literacy so that we can build towards the level of equality that we're looking for, because financial literacy is kind of like the domino effect at which we down the line have these other issues within minority communities, other social injustices that we do see within minority communities. And a lot of these are tied to the root of financial literacy and the lack of financial literacy within our communities. Mark, the first thing I kind of wanted to speak to you about this week was, I know policy wise, we've been speaking on policy that can affect us when it comes to social injustice issues such as criminal injustice, like we did last week, or voter rights bills and things of that nature. When it comes to financial issues within the minority community, what are some financial policies that we should be seeing passed by our government to help us build more financial equity within minority communities?
Well, the things that we're looking at, when it comes to policy, we're looking to get obstacles out of the way. We're looking to get rid of some of the roadblocks. I mean, we've all heard the stories and seen the news and seen the reports of the people who've had trouble getting loans from the government when it comes to their startups. The type of refinancing loans that people have been able to get, the type of interest rates that they get, the type of equity that they're able to produce as collateral in order to get loans, and where it sits. I mean, if you're starting out and you're trying to start a business, you wake up one day, you have an entrepreneur's mindset and you want to start a business, but you do not come from a family where you're starting off with a lot of money to invest yourself, or you're not a homeowner, so you don't have a home to put up for collateral. Well, how do you actually do this? This is the biggest issue that we see in the minority community, is a lack of financial literacy, first of all. And one of the things that we can look for policy wise is being able to, first of all, make this sort of financial literacy available to everyone, and making sure that it's available in minority communities, make sure it's available in school sittings, because that's the only time that you're really going to have that many people together, that many young people together, to be able to actually even impart some of this financial knowledge. Being able to, kind of look at the situations that people are coming from and give them an equal opportunity to acquire, such loans. And, there are different things that can be done, whether it be specific payment programs and loan repayment programs and things like that that can be tied to different businesses, type of contractual things that can be done to where a person who does not have the type of collateral to get a loan can still have access to getting startup capital and being able to maybe even leverage their own business as a collateral based on their own financial plans and based on their own business models and things like that. So there's all sorts of different ways that the government can play it and look at things, but it all starts with education. There are too many people who have no idea what the terms are. And if we were to turn on any type of business financial TV show or YouTube video or anything like that and let it just play for a few minutes, it's not going to be long before you actually lose people and all of the acronyms and all of the different types of terms. And we're looking at things and they're, some things are presented to you in dollars and some things are presented to you in percentages. And it can be overwhelming because not because a person doesn't understand it, that they're not smart enough to understand it. That's not the case at all. But if you weren't, it's just like if I were to just start speaking another language right now, you may pick up a word or two because it sounds familiar to something that you already know, but it doesn't mean you're going to understand what I just said. And so that's the sort of thing that we're looking at in this situation. And across the board for minority communities, we see a situation where you're almost kind of shoehorned and pigeonholed into a certain box financially, where it's piecemeal. It's I'm going to make money and then I'm going to take the money that I make, I'm going to spend it on these bills and these items and this food and these things. And so we just basically learn how to, as the saying has always been, make ends meet. Well, has anyone even attempted, is a rhetorical question I'm asking anyway, has anyone attempted to teach on a grand scale in the minority community how to go beyond that, how to create a living wage if you're not already making one, how to budget yourself to where if you're living okay and you're making it okay now at this level, if you started making this amount, can you still live at this level and take that gap of money and be able to invest it? And how would you do that? How can you begin to make money for you when you're not doing anything? How can you create pass-through income? How can you create dividends and things like that? None of these things are taught. So I think if we're looking at policy, that's where we want to start: education.
Yes, sir. And that's actually one thing that I had wrote down myself today as one thing I wanted to kind of put up or put forward through the organization. When it does come to policy, I feel like at the governmental level, that is the main way that we could kind of, do it to where everyone's getting this knowledge, is to start at the grade school level and be teaching this, whether it needs to be a specific class set aside, or whether this comes bundled in with a math course or some sort, but these are things that need to be taught at that age. These are things that need to be taught at that age so that people aren't growing up without this knowledge and then having to learn this knowledge later on, when you're already down the line and you've already acquired debt, maximize your credit card out. Instead, we should be teaching these things on the forefront at that grade levels, to kids so that they can go ahead and be prepared for this going forward. And I feel like, especially with the time that it's going to take to see this wealth gap close within minority communities, that, these are things that we need to be building towards in the future. Another thing I was looking at is when it comes to home ownership within America, that 64% of Americans are actual homeowners. When you're looking at minority Americans, there's only about 43 to 44% with home ownership. That shows a clear night and day gap, between wealth within the country. When people afford to, maybe start by owning their own home and building equity that way and things of that nature, we realize that's another bridge that we need to be bridging into and pushing more home ownership within minority communities. Mark, how do you feel like that's one thing that kind of ties into financial literacy when it comes to the benefits of home ownership and things of that nature that most people do not understand within minority communities?
Well, it all comes down to what are the principles of any type of education. The principles of any type of education is getting people up to the knowledge on the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why, and the how. Right. When it comes to home equity, because home equity is the key to wealth, and for any average American, it's the key to wealth is being able to get equity out of a home that you own. And the first question that you would ask as a minority, as a person who doesn't own a home, who's just starting out, who's looking around trying to figure out how to do better for themselves, first question is how. How do I own a home? How do I get to that point where I own a home? So again, I think that what we're going to find when a lot of these things is a lot of them tilts towards the education of the beginning. How does one begin to put together the formula that you need to be able to buy a home? Because if you don't have any type of collateral, any type of equity, then you have to have good credit, you have to have some startup money, you have to have all these other different things. And a lot of people, their first education of it is when they try to do it and fail. It's the same as what we talked about credit a little while ago. A lot of people's first experience with credit is the first call from a bill collector, and unfortunately, we're not given the type of, the thought process of how something works, how we put together things, how you put together, what is a credit score, what's good, what's bad, what is it, what is a good credit score, how do you affect the credit score positively, should you go out and try to get $1,000 phone that requires them to do a credit check, and a hard credit check actually drags your credit score down a little bit for a certain period of time, and where you could have just bought a $200 phone outright and not had that hit your credit. Are there certain things that you can do there? So really, when I think about it, it really comes down to, they used to have something in school called home economics. And I think we need to really start looking at 21st century version of home ec. And what 21st century home ec is not in how to do things in the home. It's not how to, take care of a home. It's how to get one. It's how to, be able to purchase one, and how to be able to get, like I said, pass through income. How can you get a home and take the equity of one home and buy another and rent the first and live in the second? How do you do that? How do we get to that point? Can you purchase, should a person purchase a home in one area versus another? Can you purchase a home that is, say, $50,000 short of your loan so that you can actually put stuff into it and be able to loan it out, or be able to buy, the home that you're looking for and a manufactured home over here that you can rent out and have pass-through income and have a guaranteed set of income that's going to be coming in while you do your job, and it starts to build wealth. And over time, that wealth becomes generational, where it's something that you can actually pass down to your children, and it just grows from there and becomes other businesses and things like that. And we begin to get some of the things that we, as far as lost knowledge, things that have not been available to us that we can reach out and grab and attain and be able to get that. That's going to be the true test of getting that actual equality that we're looking for. Because although we do look for it on the policy side and on the political side, achieving it on the financial side and getting yourself to a position where you can no longer be denied, you won't be denied. As long as you can be denied, you will be denied. And that's something that we know very, very well. So we know that if we can get ourselves into a position where we have that sort of economic power, we can begin to flex that muscle and begin to get even more of what it is that we're looking for equality.
Yes, sir. And even in that sense, you kind of said like knowledge that we've lost. I kind of wanted to pick up on that. That kind of has a little bit of truth to it. When you're looking at the percentage of minority home or Black American homeowners in the late 70s and the early 80s compared to now, and and the percentage of income difference that we're making more income, but we're seeing less homeowners than we did then. And that's a huge issue. That should be a huge red flag there on where we should be attacking. You want to be progressing forward. Uh, kind of how you spoke on the home economics course and how that could be revamped. I think that's an amazing idea. That's something that didn't even cross my mind in that aspect, and that would be something that is already there within these schools, and you could just insert these courses or insert these areas of financial literacy into the curriculum, so that these kids are getting it at that level, along with all the other knowledge that they're gaining at that grade school level.
Absolutely.
And as delving more into on the idea of what you said about how our fight for equality in the bigger sense is kind of tied in a lot with our side of building equity within this country. And until we find the correct equity across the minority community within this country, how can we believe that policy is going to swing our way and things of that nature, when all these things are based off of, having that level of leverage against the policymakers to see these policies actually get passed and go through. So these are things that we definitely want to be attacking through the organization. Uh, over the next few months to a year, we want to kind of build up a few topics speaking directly towards financial literacy and how we can maybe make an impact as an organization, and being able to give people the base knowledge and the root knowledge of uh, building in these certain areas, and kind of give them a place to start their research on if they want to become a homeowner, if they want to start a savings account, what's the best savings account to get, if they want to start a business, what's the best way to go about finding loans for that business and things of that nature. And these are the conversations that we'll be pushing going forward.
Absolutely. I mean, we've spent now this entire time talking about, financial education and what it can lead to. And, obviously, this is one of the things that if we have the ability to research them and be able to provide some of those answers to people, it really does, open up those doors when we think about how we get from point A to point B on a subject. We can either be carried there, or we can be given the tools to be able to make it there ourselves. The people that we're looking at, the people who set the tone for these things, there are business owners, there are people who make investments or things like that. One of the things that they all tend to have in common is that now that they have kind of made their money and they've kind of gotten to their space and they've gotten their thing, they are able to give out just the most basic of knowledge of well, this is how I started, or well, this is where I started, things like that. And we can take some of those lessons, and it requires a different level of application, obviously, because we're starting from a different place. But we can look at some of those things that people did, and we can look at some of the ways that things were done to set people up for success. And again, it could be small things. It can be how you bank. It can be what you're doing as far as like when you get your first credit card, what are you doing? What are you doing with it? Little things like an annual percentage rate on a credit card. Should you take one that has a 25% rate? Absolutely not. Things like that. And it's always the little things, because protecting yourself young is the best key to this. Because a lot of times what we often see in the minority community is, whether it be through a car, whether it be through, even things like furniture, things like that, where a person can get themselves credit with a high interest rate. They end up getting in over their head. They're paying way too much in finance charges. They get a little bit behind and it ruins their credit, and they're spending the next 10 years trying to dig out of it. And if it's something that can be attacked early with smaller things and smaller purchases that have bigger impacts, these are the sort of things that can make it easier for you to be able to do more things and to be able to have more doors open to you. I can say when I kind of started out in actually doing things with finances about 15, 16 years ago, I was in the exact same boat. I didn't even think of credit. I had no credit, which is in this country worse than bad credit. And starting out, it was impossible to get anything done. And just learning how to, just do trial and error and bumping my head against the wall a few times of getting some things done. And like, okay, we'll get this item here and you pay it off. Don't immediately get something else. What kind of, if you're going to get a car, what kind of car should it be? How much of a loan should you get versus how much you put down? Just a little bit of basic education on those things. It goes a long way to starting things out, because we are starting from the bottom. We're starting from no land ownership, no property. Some of us, either don't have a car or just, you're really just getting going, and we're trying to get a foothold, right? So when you're getting a foothold, any education is going to be a gold mine, because it gives you a little bit more and a little bit more, and then you'll be able to take those things. You have a little bit more confidence for the next thing that you do. So, I think this is a really good direction to take things, and it's going to be tremendous for helping people to understand some of these things, and be able to get some of that base education that we've really been failed with our schools. I look at the news and I see people arguing over education. And when they're arguing over education, what are they arguing about? Should we be teaching actual American history, or should we be teaching patriotic history, or should we be doing this, or should we be doing that? These are distractions. These are the sort of things that have kept us arguing about things that do not matter for so long, that we don't recognize what does matter and what does not. What needs to be in school right now is, how do you start up? How do you invest? If you were to, get, if I were to hand you $1,000 and I told you to budget yourself for a month, could you do it? And being able to teach on that level. These are the sort of things that should be added to curriculums in school. And these are the sort of things that we should be educating ourselves on, if others are not willing to educate us on it, and so that we can teach it to our own children. Because again, this starts young, and getting ourselves out of this is going to be the key.
Yes, sir. And rolling around, kind of
Mhm.
want to include within our meetings going forward is the promotion of at least one minority owned business a week. This week, we kind of wanted to start with uh, one of our members, Yasmin, her actual company, Yaya Rule. And even studying deeper into her company this week, I came across some knowledge about her that I hadn't even known prior to. But the mission overall of her company there, which she runs an apparel and accessory company, her mission is to be a part of dynamic movement, promoting an amazing continent and its rich culture, and build a bridge to unify Black diaspora, which I think is great. And since the beginning of this organization, she was one of the first businesses to actually come on board and be able to promote things she was coming out with on the organization's page there. Uh, Yaya Rule actually has currently their summer collection, which also includes swimwear. We highly recommend going and actually making a purchase, even if it's only buying a t-shirt or just a pair of swim trunks or bathing suit from her website to show support, and the things that she's doing. She uses African patterns in her collections on apparel and accessories, which I think is very cool, and tying things back into the culture and where she's from. She's originally from West Africa and grew up a bit here in America. And I think it's amazing the business that she started and the different clothing wear, and uh, she has different accessories, backpack or bags and pillows and things of that nature that she sells through her website. And we highly recommend to all of our members actually take a look at her website and go show support by buying an item off of her website there. Again, the website is going to be yayarule.com. Uh, on top of that, with us coming up on Juneteenth, in 2 weeks, we want to go ahead and start promoting and pushing for all of our organizations for all of our members under the organization to do business with a minority company within your area, whether that's a restaurant going to buy food or buying an item from minority entrepreneur for Juneteenth. Uh, for Juneteenth, this is one thing that we really want to see pushed across the next 2 weeks so that people are getting out and actually showing support to these minority businesses there.
Absolutely. I mean, as we move forward, and again, big ups to Yasmin on her business, and I could not recommend enough that take a look at her website, take a look at the clothing she has. It's very high quality stuff, and it's something that we should definitely be pushing as we move forward. It is imperative, that we look that we look inward to be able to push things forward, and looking inward at minority owned businesses and finding minority owned businesses in your area, finding minority owned restaurants and minority owned clothing stores, and patronizing them, and getting in there and getting to know them. And if you buy something, take a picture of it, put it out on social media, and let people know what's going on out there, and let them know that there's some people out there that's trying to push, that's trying to get things going, because we want to be able to help and push that message that we want to get out there, and we're a part of this as well. We're a part of this American experiment of getting out there and owning a business and trying to get take care of ourselves and take care of our families and take care of our communities and build something for ourselves and build something generational. And a person today who may visit a minority owned business may themselves have a minority owned business one day, and they're gonna need customers as well. And we're there for it. We want to make sure that we're continuing to push that for every single one of our members, going forward. Get out there and support those businesses, and give them, show them some love, and they show you some love, and we continue to push that message going forward.
Yes, sir. And as you said, I mean, one thing to include on top of what you said there is we've got to be our own best customers. And I think that's one thing across minority communities that we've got to realize. We've got to be our number one customers and consumers when it comes to our entrepreneurs and our different small businesses within the minority community.
Absolutely. We got to be able to take care of each other and help each other out, because we don't have anybody out there looking out for us, right? We're looking out for each other, and we're taking care of each other, and we're moving each other forward. And we're going to do that by, the respect that we're showing each other, patronizing one another, understanding one another, giving each other a little bit of that, giving each other space and room to grow, and just making sure that we keep those things in mind and keep them top of mind, and make sure that if you have an opportunity to go, to a big giant box store, or you have an opportunity to go to a smaller minority owned business, give that smaller guy a shot, because I guarantee you're going to find much more personable people. You're a lot of times you're going to find higher quality, and a lot of times you're going to find higher value, not necessarily just in the price you pay, but in what you get out of it, and what it brings to you, and what it brings to your community, what it brings to that person and their families. It can't be understated. So that's something we want to continue working with.
Again, I want to thank all of our members for tuning in, whether it's on the audience or the YouTube this week, and just listening to a couple of things that we're talking over. I always recommend going and looking at a couple of our other videos that we've already had in the past, whether it's our Monday segments, our Wednesday segments, our Friday segments. It's all good information, and it's all information to push this movement forward and push the culture in the right direction. We look forward to come back next week and coming with another great topic on this financial literacy issue, and being able to continue the knowledge going forward.
Absolutely. Make sure, when you guys get a chance to see these videos, like, share, subscribe, let other people know about these videos. If you guys, if you have some ideas, you have some thoughts when it comes to this, share those thoughts. We would love to hear them. And, other people in the group and other people in the community would love to hear some more ideas like this. There is no one on television, there's no one on the internet that's actually even bothering to look back and into the community and try to help it out and try to give out this type of information and have these kind of discussions at all. So, we want to recognize that and we want to continue to push that. So, share those ideas. Please spread that message, as we go into this next week. You guys have a good week and, just keep it going. Might visit those minority owned businesses.